All right, it's number 12, right? This is episode 12.
Hold on. Let me look at my phone.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What up? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Smooth Order. Welcome to Negroes with a Podcast, NWAP Cast, episode 12, season 5. I am back from my short hiatus of schoolwork and shit.
I'm Tunde, taught 7, middle of the afternoon, having a drink, because why not?
Indeed.
Catch up. I've been drinking since 10:30 a.m. from Chicago.
That's because you're an alcoholic.
Now, I had a meeting, and they were like, "Oh, let's order drinks." And I was like, "Damn."
Were you at an AA meeting because you're drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah. No, it was with one of my friends he's on the morning show on the radio here. So he's been at work since like 4 a.m. So I guess maybe to him by 11, it feels like it's time to crack a drink. So
yeah, it's lunchtime for that nigga.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the episode that's going out right before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate that. If you do not celebrate that, happy Colonizer Day. Probably. It's probably what you're going for. If you don't celebrate this. I have no idea, but since
they did change Columbus Day, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I feel like Thanksgiving can also be Happy Colonizer Day. I mean, every holiday can be Happy Colonizer Day, actually.
Yep.
Right.
It could be well-wishing happy colonizers, but whatever. That's what niggas be doing. That's what niggas be doing. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving and giving thanks or whatever like that, we want to talk to you about struggling as an adult, or yes, as an adult, and sort of the pathway that you have to do, the things that you have to go through to sort of get to where you're trying to go. So I want to read some tweets that I tweeted on the 18th at about 2:30 in the morning. And for background, I have no idea why I tweeted this. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. I don't know what
Wasn't it like you had sometimes you get like an overwhelming, like, yo, I feel good. And like, I just want to say why. Not necessarily to get anything out of it.
I mean, go ahead.
You work like nights, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like my work schedule is. Yeah, my work schedule is dumb. Like I work like noon to 9 or like 2:30 to 11:30. So I'm usually up at 2 o'clock in the morning anyway. But usually like when I tweet stuff like this, like there's like some sort of purpose, or there was like a catalyst, or there was something like weighing heavily on my mind. And I actually like this thread, this very, very short thread that I'm about to read. Like there was none of that. Like it was really on my heart. And like I don't really tweet for other people. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't walk into Twitter thinking like, let me tweet some inspirational shit for other people. I don't really do inspirational tweets. I do a lot of nigga shit on Twitter, and that is very, very indicative of what my character is. It's full of nigga shit. But I tweeted this out at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not sure why, but this is what I tweeted. I said, I graduated undergrad 11 and a half years ago. It took me 10 and a half years to find something I enjoyed doing for a living. I've been unemployed, underemployed, dead broke. Lived at my mom's house, my aunt's house, my cousin's house, and I'm here, finally approaching stability 11 and a half years later. I failed the bar 6 years ago, unemployed 5 years ago, demoted 4 years ago, hated my job 3 years ago, I'm unemployed 2 years ago, underemployed a year ago, got a job I love doing now. I fought, I cried, I was depressed, I had anxiety, I was unhappy. I broke up with a woman that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. I was in a hole so dark I didn't know light existed. I swam down Schitt's Creek with no paddle. I hate that metaphor because you don't swim down creeks with paddles, but that's besides the point. And yet, I'm here. None of this was ever easy, ever, but I'm here. I don't know who needed to see that, but if you're struggling, I hope you keep fighting. I pray you keep fighting. And that is the end of the thread.
Yes.
So like, I don't think there's anything inspirational about what I just said, or I didn't intend.
Why not?
Well, I'm gonna rephrase. I didn't intend to be inspirational when I wrote those tweets, right? Like I was really like I'd really just been sitting down, like chilling, and just got like this overwhelming sense of whatever to sort of like tweet that out. I'm going through a lot of different changes in my life, and I feel like I've like talked about this in and out for the better part of a year since we started. Well, the better part of whenever we started the podcast or whatever. So like the thing that I got going on now is like I'm actually about to move into like my own apartment for like the first time in my life. And what I mean by that is I will be moving into this apartment as a single man, and I will be living by myself for the first time in my life at age 33. Like I turned 33 in less than a month from the time that we're recording this podcast. And by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be like 3 weeks until my 33rd birthday. Like I'm in my Jesus year, right? And I'm getting my first apartment, my first solo apartment at 33 fucking years old. And this is something that I've been working on for like the entire year. Like I've been saving up money, looking for apartments, like sort of getting everything together as far as like furniture and like what I need. I actually posted my housing list on Twitter once, like with like the color coded Excel sheet and shit like that. People
was like, excited as shit.
Yeah, I was super excited. I mean, this is like the first time I've ever done this. I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. And there is a little bit of it where it's like, I don't, you know, like women talk about niggas like living in by themselves and like them being house poor and like never having anything and having like one fork and one pillow and shit like that. And I just really wanted to guarantee that I wasn't going to be living like that because that's not the kind of nigga that I am. So part of it is mostly, part of it is based on the fact that I don't want to be shamed, but the other part of it is mostly that I'm like super fucking excited too.
Yeah, because it's like, wow, I get to be a real adult now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been a real adult, but like I feel like this is like next level shit because I mean, I maybe for some people like living on your own by yourself in your own apartment like isn't like a huge deal, but like it's like a really big fucking deal to me, right? Like I lived at home, then I went to college, and then I ended up moving back home. Then I went to law school, and I ended up living with my cousin. And then I was living with my cousin. I was kind of getting my shit together, whatever. And then I moved in with my ex, and then we lived together. And then we ended up leaving Maryland, and I moved back home. And then I moved again with my ex. So like, it's just there really wasn't any room for me to live by myself and all the time that I was doing all this fucking living as an adult. But like now that I'm doing it, it just feels like it's like equal parts like exciting and terrifying. Like it's terrifying because I've never lived by myself before. So like I'm going to be alone with my thoughts a lot and shit.
Sometimes that can be like a really, really good thing. And sometimes it can, I don't know. Not that you're lonely, but you're alone. And
right.
when I lived alone, like, I'm a very social person. So sometimes like I hated like going home and I always used to call my friends, like, what are you doing like after school, after work?
Right.
I just hated being in an apartment myself. But then there's nothing like coming home. Just you can walk around naked. You can. I mean, if you have a girl, you can do that. But like if you have a roommate, obviously you can't. But it's nothing like being in your own space and knowing if you put something somewhere, it's not gonna move until you touch it. So.
Right.
Now that I think about it, I've never lived by myself either. So that's wild. Like that's the age we live in right now. Niggas is in their 30s and haven't had an apartment by themselves.
Yeah, and like my other thing too is like as far as like being alone, like I'm not super social, so I don't actually think that's going to be a problem. I'm actually worried that I'll enjoy living by myself so much that I actually won't want to leave my house. Like that's my concern, right? But like I'm also trying to like get out and like do like be more social and like do more stuff or whatever. Like I'm actually considering like having like a house warming. I'm gonna call it a party because we're not partying in the crib. We're not doing that. Housewarming ceremony sounds more peaceful. You know what I'm saying? Housewarming kickback. We want some light jazz and some cheese and some wine and shit like that. Like it's gonna be like
basically it's a situation where you can entertain people, but then when you can say, all right, niggas, it's time to go. It's time to go.
Yeah, it's like 90 minutes tops. Then like, all right, y'all niggas came to the crib. Y'all see how I'm living. You know what I'm saying? It's real nice. It's real comfortable in here. All right, all y'all shoes gonna be in the foyer because it ain't no shoes on the carpet. You know what I'm saying? Like I need for niggas to come over and feel like they shouldn't put their shoes on my carpet. You know what I'm saying? Like I need for that energy to be there without me even saying anything.
That's funny.
But like, yeah, like I'm like super excited and stuff like that. So I guess that's kind of why. Thank you. So I guess that's kind of why I ended up putting those tweets out there or whatever. And I wanted the basis of this conversation about struggling is based on those tweets. Because the first thing that I want to talk about was how people responded. And a lot of people, I mean, to be fair, a lot of people were like, I'm inspired by what you said. Like a lot of, I didn't really want to respond to people on the timeline about the tweet because for whatever reason, I feel like that's weird. Like if I'm like responding to like if I'm responding to all the positive things said to me, like I don't feel like, I feel like I'm like not, I'm like I'm misrepresenting.
It's like, thank you.
Right. Or like, you know, when people like hit you like happy birthday, it's like, thank you, you know, like that or whatever like that. But a lot of people hit me up via DM and was like, yo, like I was really moved by your story, you know, blah, blah, whatever. And I would hit them back and I'm like, thank you. You know, I'm glad I could be of service. You know, that's always my thing. Happy to be of service. Like if you ever want to talk about anything, you know, like people had text me, hit me up and it was like, yeah, man, like I'm going through something similar. Like I appreciate you saying that. Like you just feel like, you know, everybody feel like they got it together. And it's like, it's nice to feel like people are still working to get it together. You know, you being transparent about that. Cause I've always really been like transparent about where I'm at in life in terms of like what I'm dealing with. Like when I was unemployed, like I talked about being unemployed. When I was underemployed, I talked about it being underemployed. When I finally started getting some money, I was able to start buying these J's. I was buying these J's and I was telling niggas, hey nigga, I'm about to get these J's, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, but then there's like two different contingents as far as like the response too. Like some people were like, is this supposed to be inspirational? Because it's actually fucking depressing. And I respect that. Right, like I think it's depressing, to some degree.
What's the point of asking that question, which isn't really a real question, you know?
Right.
Like you wanted to say something.
Right. So there's that, and then some other people were just like not very nice about it, and I don't want to put any particular spotlight on those people because they don't fucking matter. But I do want to talk about that in between, like people who were trying to figure out if it was inspirational and like some of the responses, as far as that was concerned. But do you guys have anything that you want to say before I even get into that? Because I feel like I've been talking for a while.
Well, I want to ask you something because I was with you on you saying, oh, I wasn't trying to be inspirational until you actually gave advice and was like, well, yeah, I guess that counts as advice. At the point at the end when you're like, you know, I don't know who needed to see that, but keep going. You don't feel like that's inspirational?
I don't feel like that's inspirational.
Like, I think you can claim it without associating yourself with like the corny inspirational. You know what I mean? Like we all know like what that looks like.
Right.
When people are just trying to say some shit just to say some shit. But
yeah, I don't really look at it like well, I guess when I say what I'm not being inspirational, like that wasn't my intent. Like if it's received, I'm sorry, I'm like peeling off this fucking.
You basically kind of mean like you're not looking for a reaction.
Right. Yeah, like I wasn't
I'm not trying to have a conversation. Just here you go.
Right, which is why I didn't respond to like a lot of the stuff that people were saying, you know, positive or negative. Like I didn't walk into it saying like I want to talk about this thing and I want to be able to like thank you for coming to my TED Talk type of shit.
Like you didn't want a lot of spotlight. It was just like boom, here you go.
I didn't even expect I think the lead tweet has like 4,000 retweets and like 10,000 favorites, right? Like I didn't walk into the thing thinking that was going to be what was going to happen. I mean, I tweet all the time.
That's when you keep it real though.
You know, I tweet all the time random stuff and I have a 5-digit number follower account, and not that means anything because that doesn't mean people don't retweet anything. So, or people will retweet anything. So even if it does have like 75,000 retweets, it's like, who gives a fuck? It's like a stupid metric that I like to read, by the way, but it's just like a stupid metric. Doesn't mean anything. But like, I honestly didn't expect for that to hit the way that it did. Like, and like I said, like I wasn't walking into it thinking like this is how, you know, like, oh nigga, I'm about to kill him with this one, nigga, I'm about to share my struggle and get these retweets up. Yeah, it's not what I did.
See, I think it sounds almost like you're saying I wasn't trying to be inspirational because there's some stigma attached to how people think you think about yourself if something blows up. I don't know if that was all the way clear.
No, I get what you're saying, but but I guess the point that to make it as clear as I possibly can, I literally wasn't thinking of anything or anybody or whatever else other than what exactly I tweeted at the moment that I tweeted. Like I didn't think about how it was going to land. I didn't think about how it was going to make niggas feel. I didn't think about, well, niggas going to be like, well, this nigga 11 years. He must be a fucking loot. Like I didn't think about the reactions or nothing. Like I literally was like, it's 2:00 in the morning. I got this thing on my heart. I need to tweet this out. When I say if I know somebody needs to read this, that's kind of what that's what inspired me, quote unquote, to tweet it. Because I felt like somebody, if I'm thinking about it this hard, this late at night, I feel like there's somebody else out there that probably needs to read this too. So I didn't look at it in like an inspirational point, but just like, hey, my nigga, I understand what you're going through, dog. I'm going through the same thing. Or hey, my nigga, I understand what you're going through because I've gone through the same thing. And I think there's a lot of power in that.
Okay. And like you said, oh, go ahead, Tule.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like you said too, I think that as long as I've known you and followed you online, you've always been very transparent, like along these different stages. So I wonder how much of this is like new people, you know, because I don't understand still why people engage with you the way that they do sometimes, as if they don't know how you talk, you know, or like as if they don't know you're not looking for attention. You're not, and as if they don't know what you believe in or like whatever.
Right.
Like, these must be new people.
Could be. Could very well be that. Tunde?
So you shared like what you shared on Twitter because, you know, I feel like it's harder for us to share things when we're actually going through the actual struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So what, like, one of my, I guess I don't have as many followers as you do, but one of my most like popular or retweeted tweets was, I think it was like 2014 or 2013. I only remember this because this is like the year I got laid off from work for my first fellowship. I was living in New York, and I was working at NYU, and my lab lost funding, so I got laid off. So I had to move back home to DC. I was living with my mom. And that's right around the time we started our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like this big thing where New York fast food workers were like picketing or striking because they weren't getting a livable wage, and people were like shitting on these New York workers. And I tweeted like, you know, people think that if you don't work, it's because you're lazy or whatever. But, you know, I went to school, 11 years post high school, and I still got laid off. And you would think that, you know, I went to like this, I put a bunch of tweets together talking about, you know, the American blueprint, where you go to school, you do what you're supposed to do, stay out of trouble. And I did all those things, yet here I am still living, you know, in my mom's basement.
Yeah.
Because I think that we were sold this dream, and it turned out to be like a bunch of bullshit. So a lot of people have resonated with that tweet as well. But I don't think I would have shared that if I already didn't have a job at the time. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if I was still living at home with my mom, but you know, I was, you know, at the time I was working and I was, you know, still making good money. But would I have shared that if it was like the day after I got laid off? Probably not, because I think it's still raw, like when you're going through like whatever you're going through, and it's hard for you to try to reach out and help other people or other people when you're still going through those struggles yourself. But when you come out on the other side, you're like, I can look back and see how some people are still going through the same struggle. Let me help those people as well by sharing my message.
Right. Go ahead, Lex.
And in a previous episode, I remember we talked about how, you know, when is a good time to share your personal stories or to be super transparent. And I remember one of the biggest things we said was, well, when you have something to give back about it, like you're not just out here complaining, or you're not just out here to gloat about yourself, but it's like a full circle of, you know, like you said, it could happen for you too type thing.
Right.
So, I mean, you fit the category. I don't understand why. Well, I don't know. I can see why somebody could be depressed by that, but I don't understand why I would attack you about it necessarily, because it's your story. Like, your story is your story.
Right. And that's kind of that was actually like my response to one person, because she projected like this whole, she was like,
she went ham. I saw that.
Yeah, she was very, I don't really know what the appropriate emotion to describe what she did, but I told her she was projecting, because the thing that she was mad at was not actually what I said. And I get that a lot. Like, people actually aren't mad at me or mad at what I said. They're mad at whatever their interpretation is of what I said. And usually their interpretation of what I said is not actually what the fuck I actually said.
But with her, I remember seeing that she was like, you talking about the girl who was like, is this supposed to be inspirational? Because I think it's depressing.
Yeah. And I was like, and I just tweeted her, I was like, you're projecting. I didn't say that. And she was like, okay. And that was it. Like, I wasn't about to be upset, because this is like, and like, I mean, I can't tell 11 and a half years of my every single day struggle in 5 tweets. Okay, I can't talk about everything in my regular struggle in a day in 5 tweets. You know what I'm saying? So there's not. I gave people like a very, very, very broad overview of like the last 11 and a half years. Like I've also been in school for 7, 9. I've been in school for like 9 out of the last 11 and a half years too. Right. Like it's not a straight line. Like I didn't give everybody the nitty gritty details. I was just like, yo, like I've been out of undergrad for like just the fact that I've been out of undergrad for over 10 years is usually the thing that fucks with me the most out of anything. Because like undergrad don't feel that far away. Like it feels far away, but it don't feel that far away. But then like when you think about it, it's like, dog, I started college in 2003. It's 2018.
So
that's a long time, my nigga. That is a long time. So let's kind of talk about that or whatever. And you know, like I only share things when I can no longer be affected, when I can no longer be negatively affected by them. And by that, I mean, if I can talk about not passing the bar because people who disrespect me for not passing the bar, A, aren't lawyers.
It can hurt you.
Right. A, aren't lawyers. B, aren't people who went to law school. Or C, like I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't pass the bar, nigga. Like it's not anything to be ashamed about. I wasn't ashamed at the time that I didn't pass the bar. Like I told people the results, like when the results came out, I told people about the results the day that it came out because I had already made my peace that I wasn't going to be a lawyer. Like I had already, that ship had been sailed. So it wasn't anything to be like, yo, like I didn't pass the bar. Like it's not a big deal, you know, whatever like that. But sometimes like I'm not sure. And I think that apprehension from like sharing about this particular thread is like, I don't really be sure like what people will be fucking reading. And like, I don't be interested in trying to find out because it's not for you.
That's definitely a thing. Like, I feel like when you are comfortable talking about real shit, you don't care what people think about it. Like, and that's kind of what I was trying to get to earlier. That's one thing I hate that when I do catch myself thinking about it, like I want to say something. I'm like, somebody's going to think this, or they're going to look into it like this. And it's like, that's not my intent, but because I can't control it. And then sometimes I don't care. Sometimes I'm like, it's not worth it. Like, I'm just not going to say that thing. Because I don't feel like everybody else trying to have a whole full-blown conversation, which is weird in itself. Like, why people can't just read something and just keep going. Like, if you don't identify with it or whatever, like, just keep scrolling, dog. Like, it's hella content coming out right behind mine.
Right. Yeah. And that's actually, I kind of want to move into this idea.
Eyebrows look great right now.
My eyebrows?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, the way you just bent down, them things are shaped. You got them threaded?
No, I did not. They just naturally and sexy, but I appreciate it.
2 day skin all clear. Y'all look good today.
Niggas out here getting 2018 together, man. We out here living.
You trying to step into 2019 like your girl.
Yeah.
Look, new apartment.
Yeah. Hey, niggas out here.
Child. Love.
Let them know. But the thing I wanted to start into was kind of like this idea of like personal business versus like not personal business, I guess. Like we talk about social media and we talk about people sharing things and the type of things that they share. And like my nigga, there's always like I appreciate you sharing this thing. And then like my nigga, I didn't need to know that at all. Like nobody needed to know that or whatever. And I want to talk about that because I feel like this is one of those things that can kind of go either way, but I think it only goes either way based on like how people receive it. And I'm not really one of those people who worries about how people receive things, but I'm also not like stupid. Like I'm cognizant that there are certain things that people are they're going to respond to me a different way than they're going to respond to somebody else who said a similar thing. So like, how do y'all feel about like sharing y'all stories as far as like it being like personal business and like what's your line of demarcation as far as like what you share and what you don't? Much. Right. Yeah. Like where's your personal line for like what you think is too much? Let me canonize it. Put that in terms of like the struggle. Like where's your line as far as the struggle of when you're talking about the struggle where you feel like, all right, I can share this, but this is like one step too far.
I think when it starts to involve other people that might be close to me, I'm definitely not sharing that because it's not their stories is not mine to tell.
Right.
And also I always try to keep in mind that like I'm using Twitter for example, but just social media in general, the saying like these Twitter niggas, they're not your friend.
Right.
like the second somebody stops liking you, they'll bring all that shit up.
Right.
Like, and I try to keep that in mind as well because.
But I mean, if it's something you shared, then how does that hurt you?
Well, I mean, some people don't have that line, right? Like some people think that they're sharing with their friends on social media, and then they find out later that these niggas ain't your friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I don't want to put anyone's example out there, but you know, you see these popular people on Twitter, and they share a lot of themselves, and then the second something comes up that might be the slightest bit controversial, you see all these people that you're looking from I'm looking from outside. I'm like, oh damn, I thought they were friends. They talking shit about that person. I'm like, God. And then they're bringing up all these personal shit that they may have shared and stuff that they didn't share. So I share a lot. That's just my personal ideas. I share a lot, but I also have like a really strict line about the type of things that I share.
So, like, what type of category of things, maybe that people struggle with, would you not want to talk about? Like, you don't, like you're saying, like I wouldn't talk about my relationship problems or like anything kind of specific.
I definitely wouldn't talk about relationship problems. But let's say I had a friend, and me and my friend are both going through similar problems with respect to our jobs, and both of us got laid off from the same job. Let's say we both were writers, and we wrote for a publication, and everyone knew that we were friends, and we tweeted a lot about, hey, we got this project coming out and this project coming out, but I found out that I'm being laid off. I'm not going to mention anything about my friend, even though I know he might be getting laid off too. I'm not going to say, well, this publication is some bullshit because they laid me and so-and-so off. I'm just going to talk about, if I did talk about it, I'll talk about it myself. I wouldn't talk about that next person.
Okay.
What about you, Lex?
I feel like one thing that I notice is that even if I'm trying to, and by trying to talk about my struggle, I don't mean like I'm ever out here like going super ham, but anytime I mention anything like that doesn't sound awesome, I feel like niggas don't believe me. Like they'll be like, yeah, okay, big money, or like, oh, okay, out in Calabasas or whatever. And I'm like, nah, I really don't know how I'm paying my rent next month. Like I'm being serious. But so for me, it's just like, I feel like a waste of, like if I talk about something like that, it's me being frustrated, or me like you said, I'm never tweeting for anybody else, like ever, period. It's always some shit for me. Or
you sure don't. You be tweeting out them non sequiturs like a motherfucker. You popping up and tweeting like these random one-off one-liners, and then you just be like gone again.
Yeah, because they're just thoughts that I'm having, honestly. And that's the weird thing too, is like, yeah, I'll be kikiing it up like with my friends, whatever, and I'll just get a thought, because my issue is like I live in my head a lot. So all the conversations, I feel like that's what I pull out when I get on Twitter usually. And the only things that I think I would never, like my line is, I would never ask for money. I would never do that. I would never be like, oh, here's my Cash App on some, like when you see people who are like, yo, I need help. Like I'll never ask for help like that. That's when I dig into like my friends and family, and like I'm gonna hit somebody directly. And I don't think I would, like Tunde said, I don't think I would try to talk about anybody's name. Like if relationship stuff, that'll all just maybe look like a sub or something like that, maybe every once in a while. But like I'm never going like super ham talking about a situation. But for me, like when it comes to struggle, like it's always some money shit. So if I'm talking about money, like I might talk about it, but I'm also talking about, I'm gonna figure it out, because I've always figured it out. Like, and I always have, and I'm still here. So I'm never gonna be like, here's my GoFundMe.
Yeah, I think what's actually interesting to me is like I came up in the blogging era, and I don't mean like personal branding blog, but like basically online journal blogging. Like we era, you know what I'm saying? We wrote about the things that were happening in our lives as they were happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, or as we were figuring them out. You know what I'm saying? So if it was like a heartbreak thing, or it was like a frustrated relationship type of situation, you going back and forth with somebody, you kind of trying to figure out, like, we wrote those things and then we put them on the internet. Like that was like a very, I'm not gonna say that, fuck it, with black people, with black people and all the black, like a lot of the black writers that I know, like a lot of the people that are writing at the Atlantic, New York, or whatever, that are black, that I know personally, like they started doing personal blogging like 10 years ago. Like that was our thing. We wrote about our emotions, we wrote about our feelings, and we posted them shits. And we had like our own community. You know what I'm saying? And to some degree, like I still carry like the spirit of that with me on Twitter, where like I talk about the things for the most part, either like right after they've happened and I figured it out, or as they're happening, if it's not like super fucking ridiculous, right? Like if I'm getting evicted, you're not going to know I got evicted until like 18 months later when I'm already living in a better apartment, where, you know, I'm not going to talk about my eviction as it's happening, because I don't like I said, like
another thing about that, when you talk about something while you're going through it, like, again, if I say anything, it's because I just need to get out of my mind. But sometimes people try to help you, and it's like, I don't want you, like, I don't need you being like, oh, I'm sorry you got evicted, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry about that. Like, I don't need that, right? Like, and so even with the good things, like how you said earlier, when people are like, oh man, I needed to hear this. To me, that kind of bugs, like, oh man, that bugs me. But when people say stuff like that, it's like, okay, cool, but that wasn't for you. Like, I wish sometimes it's like you could put stuff out there and people aren't responding. It sounds like I just need to actually use a journal.
Yeah, you gotta use Tumblr for that kind of shit.
I don't know. I don't like people responding to some stuff. Some stuff I just, period, good or bad.
Yeah, you need to,
because then it looks like you're trying to be like a hot shot to everybody else.
You need to take that shit to Tumblr. People, you can't take that shit to Twitter. But that's actually interesting that you said that.
Tumblr, though.
You said what?
I like Tumblr, though.
I love Tumblr.
I found I had a whole fan page on Tumblr somewhere.
Oh, that is a quintessential Lex story. I look at Tumblr like the as a library on the internet, like it's the quiet place, because the interactions on Tumblr are like, they don't manifest themselves the same way as they do on like Instagram and Twitter. Those are Twitter and Instagram and Facebook or whatever are like instant, like whatever. Like there's an instant response to whatever you got going on. With Tumblr, it's like
people are just like, cool, respect. Right. like okay, cool.
You can write whatever kind of ridiculous shit on Tumblr, and niggas might not see that shit for months, because it's just the nature of Tumblr. Like, you follow a lot of blogs and people post a lot of different stuff, and it just don't come across the same way. Like there's no sense of urgency. For me, when I think about Tumblr, there's no sense of urgency when it comes to responding to different stuff or whatever. Even the way that you respond to stuff, like it's just different. But I was saying that, like, I came up in the era of personal blogging where we wrote our emotions, we wrote what we were going through, and we published it. And like, I carry that with me on Twitter when I talk about like the things that I'm going through. Like this thing that I wrote, that could have easily gone on my personal blog, which I actually probably should have put it on my personal blog, since my personal blog doesn't have a lot of content for this year. But that's neither here nor there. It's like, I don't say these things, like, and I think that's why, like, I think, Lex, to your point earlier, like, I think that's why I make such a point of saying, like, this thing isn't caused by this thing, or I'm not considering this thing because I posted it. Like, I'm a writer. Like, niggas is sensitive about our shit and our art, but like, the art for me in writing is writing, and like being able to connect with people and letting people know, like, hey, my nigga, niggas is out here going through the struggle. You know what I'm saying? And a little bit of it is like this idea. I don't even know how true this is now, but like, just this idea that like people only share the good things that's happening in their lives on social media, or people being upset. You'll see people be upset, like, well, you don't know what kind of things people is going through, but you know, on their Instagram or on their Twitter, look, like it's all good, but you know, their whole life be like, you know, blah, blah, whatever. And like, sometimes when I think about telling the things that I'm going through that are not so peachy, I don't care about those things, in the sense that nobody can make me feel some type of way about those things. But like, I also think about that narrative too. Like, we only share the good things. Like, why don't we share the terrible things as well? And I feel like every time I share something that is not super good that's happening in my life, after I've, you know, either post after I figured it out, or like some time has passed by and then I figured it out, I feel like that's like my little way of giving back to people, and by there's like this anonymous, vague idea of people when I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it. But like, I really just be wanting niggas to know, like, yo, niggas is out here. We all living. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard out here for a lot of people. It's hard out here for everybody. You know what I'm saying? You might see me post a pair of Jordans and be like, damn, like that nigga just bought some J's, which is like $250, which I did post those J's, or the blackout 11s. I did post those. But you might not know, like, yo, like this nigga was out here grinding. He came from like not having a job and like not even being able to like afford sneakers to be able to just like buy Jordans without having to check his fucking account. Like, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I don't do it for the props. I'm just saying, like, just that line of thinking, like, dog, you know what I'm saying? Niggas is out here. We struggling. We out here. Everybody trying to do the best that they can to get to wherever it is that they want. Everybody has things that they want and things that they want to do. And it's like getting up every single day and like working towards that thing gets difficult. It's hard. You feel like you're doing it by yourself. You jump on social media. You see your friend done bought a house. Your other homeboy done bought a Tesla. Your homegirl about to get a job promotion. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And we talk about like, well, you don't know what she was going through before she got her job. You don't know what that nigga might have had a bus pass before he bought that Tesla, or that nigga might have been homeless before he bought that house. And it's like, well, if they were, then, you know, it would be cool if they talked about it. So that's how I feel like when I talk about, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I bought a new car this year, right? But then I told niggas like, yo, I had my car for like 11 and a half years and that shit was broken. I couldn't afford to fix it and it was cheaper for me to buy a new car than it was to fix the old car. You know, so like I like to, and I think this is actually like a personality thing. I like to give people context about the things that I'm doing and when I'm doing those things. Like, hopefully my ex doesn't listen to this because she's probably going to get triggered when she hears that. Like, I talk about the context of when things happen all the time, right? Like, this thing is not happening in a vacuum. There is a context. There's a setting for these actions that are taking place or whatever. And I like for people to understand the context of what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And I think that's why I end up explaining myself so much to people on Twitter when I'm arguing. And they're like, oh my God, like, why are you always going back and forth with niggas? I'm like, no, I just really want you to understand the context of what I said. I don't even care if you agree. Like, I'm not arguing for you to agree, but do you understand the context of this thing that's happening and why I said this thing? Which, you know, a lot of people don't.
Can we talk about why the people who are the ones who say things like, well, you don't know what's going on in their lives, or well, everything's not going to be all good, why these people feel like you owe them something, and how I feel like social media and our culture around Twitter and Instagram is that it's like, feed me, like, tell me the whole thing, like, you owe me this. Like, niggas can say whatever they want to say, good, bad, whatever. Like, what is this thing about where it's like you owe somebody like all the information? Like I think that we're so used to consuming it that we feel like you owe me today. You ain't put nothing up, you ain't said nothing, you ain't told the full story. Like, so what's up?
So do you want to answer?
Are you asking why hold on. Are you asking why I don't do that? Or are you asking?
No, just asking like if you have like a thought on why it's like that, like why people are like
why is it now that you can just read something and take it for what it is? And I'm saying that as if I do it too. I'm sure all of us at some degree do that, right? I try to catch myself to make sure, like, yo, I'm not putting all this extra shit on something that I don't know about. You know what I mean? Like, somebody could put up a picture of them with you can see through their nipples, and I could be like, oh man, she's trying to get some, like, she's trying to do this shit. I don't fucking know. You know, like who cares? It's a cute picture, whatever. Or if somebody says something like Garfield, like, oh well, he said the bad stuff. If you were to just say like, oh, I got a whole new apartment, oh my God, I'm so hyped, and then there's always that one person like, oh well, didn't this happen and this happened and this happened, this happened? Like, why do people feel like they need to make sure everybody knows the full story?
I think people are naturally that they're pessimists, so they're gonna look for the bad in anything. And so like if somebody were to post a picture of, I don't know, I'm not really into cars, but like what's like I say a Tesla, or whatever. Somebody like to post a picture of their new Tesla, and I look outside and I'm like, shit, I'm still driving a fucking 1994 Honda Accord. I'm gonna start comparing, right? I'm like, damn, you got a Tesla. I got a Accord.
That's what they did to your boy, Brother Nature. he pulled out in the Ferrari, and now niggas was like, oh, let me find some old tweets.
so now he's better. He now I feel like he thinks he's better than I am, right? He thinks he's better than me.
Yeah.
So now I gotta knock him down a peg.
Yeah.
Now the wheels in my mind start turning. Like, oh man, he probably can't afford it. Like, to go out to eat dinner every night now, or to eat dinner when he wants, because he gotta afford those $800 car payments. And you start calculating in your mind, like, how now
it's like you're trying to justify why it's not as cool as it is.
So then you start hating for real, and then that's when the tweets, like with Brother Nature, you start digging on tweets to knock him down a peg. So I think I'll just come back to hating. Me personally, I don't hate. Like, if I see a picture, like if I follow you on Instagram, I'm gonna like your pictures regardless. I'm just gonna, like, I scroll through. I used to be like super stingy with my likes when I first got on Instagram, but like now I scroll through and like everything that I see, whatever. If it makes you feel better, I guess.
You ain't like my picture.
I like all your pictures. What are you talking about?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
But
Guys, that's actually. Oh no, go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, because I do be hating, right? Like, I see stuff and I'll start comparing. I know I will, because I'll compare and I'll hate. But what I don't do is I don't like react publicly or like say something. You know what I mean? Like, I might look at something like, dang,
you're a regular hater. You're not a super hater.
Like, I'm not going out of my way. Like, what kind of energy is that? But I might feel some kind of way. Or like when you see people that, you know, because like I'm in business or whatever, I might see somebody like, oh, they got some award, or they went to some event, or they're speaking somewhere, and I'm like, dang, it's slight. I'm not gonna act like it's not no slight hate, because sometimes it's some slight hate versus also along with, man, all right, now how can I step up, like, to do whatever, or to get to this or whatever. But I'm not gonna sit here and say something. That's what I hate, when people then gotta comment something crazy. Like, yo, just keep that hate to yourself and like keep moving on. Like, I try to catch it, but that's just weird. People just talk just to talk, and anytime they do that shit, it's just corny to me.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about, like, let me see if I can try to not long wind my way through this. All right. So I think the idea of deserve is what's at play here. It's, I see somebody with a thing that I would like. Do they deserve that thing? And if they deserve that thing, it's cool. If they don't deserve that thing, let me think about all the reasons why they don't deserve that thing. And if you don't like that person, or you think that that person has something that you want yourself and you don't think they deserve it, it's okay. Well, how come that person got it and I didn't get it? Right. So now we're tying, it's like a little bit of insecurity, it's a little bit of hate, and, you know, it's a little bit of cynicism, but it's mostly like this idea of like, it's like the social conditioning that the people who get good things deserve to get good things, or the people who get good things have done something that was so extraordinary that they received that good thing. And if they receive something that you felt like you received, and you feel like you're better than that person for whatever reason, when you don't get it, you feel hatred toward that other person.
Blame God, don't blame me.
Right. It's like, obviously it's hate the player, don't hate the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or hate the game, not the player. Excuse me. So, and I'll give you like when I was writing and like I was struggling like real bad, like, and I was like, yo, I think I'm a good writer. And like I see like other niggas that I didn't think were good writers who were getting awards and who were getting all these spots and stuff like that, or who was getting like people was tapping in to be like the voice and stuff like that or whatever. I used to be big mad. Like, man, this weak ass niggas, they don't even write that good. I see that niggas blog, niggas be going crazy over that shit. Nigga, that shit ain't even that dope. Right. But then like, okay, you don't think he that dope, and he getting all these spots. So if you don't think he that dope and he getting all these spots, then what does that say about you that you can't get them too? Right. So it's really not even energy that you're directing toward that person. That person sort of becomes a symbol for like your own failures or your own perceived failures. And you're really just talking about yourself. Right. Because if that nigga's not a dope writer and he gets all those awards, then you must be a really shitty writer because you're not getting no awards. You know what I'm saying? So that's actually like and
that's really what you're saying, and that's really what we should say.
That's really what the crux behind it is. It's not so much as you you're attacking that other person, but you're really attacking yourself. That other person just happens to be a symbol for whatever the thing is that you do dislike about yourself, and you're projecting that on them, and you're attacking them. You know what I'm saying? So I think about stuff like that or whatever. And I feel like I had to divorce the idea, like the America isn't a meritocracy. Like life isn't a meritocracy, right? Like it's not like it's not school. Like, oh, you get all A's, you get an award. Like life ain't about niggas who get D's get awards. That's life. You know what I'm saying? Because they got an A in the thing that they needed to get an A in to keep the metaphor going, right? You don't have to be good at everything to get an award. You just have to be good at that one particular thing to get whatever award it is that you need to get. You know what I'm saying? A nigga buying a Tesla could just be a reward of him being able to work for 6 months consistently without having to worry about losing his fucking job. You know what I'm saying? It might not mean nothing more than that. Or he just liked the Tesla and he's willing to pay whatever it was to get one. You know what I'm saying? Like we try to, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we get so caught up into what people are doing and like trying to figure out like what their mind frame is like. Oh, like even something simple like, oh, that nigga think I bet that nigga think he better than me. That nigga ain't better than me. Why do you think that he thinks he's better than you? Like, where did that even?
Subconsciously, you feel like he is, though. That's why.
Right. Like, where did that even come from? And I actually talked about this one time on Twitter when I was talking about like how like what I was like something that I was talking about and like the way people are responding to me. I was talking about my master's degree and I was like, yeah, I'm getting a master's degree in 6 weeks. This is like obviously this is like a month ago. And somebody was like, weird flex, but okay, like you're not even going to really make no money like that. You know, you probably going to write, you know, blogs, blah, blah, whatever. Like just all this different, all this different shit or whatever. And I'm like, nigga, I just said I was getting a master's degree and that's dope. Like I wasn't talking about anybody. I wasn't talking to anybody. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh nigga, I'm getting a master's degree in 6 weeks. Nigga, that's dope. I just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to say that because that's dope. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying? That was some of the energy that I was getting back. Because again, 97% of the time, most people are saying positive things. But, you know, the negative things always jump out because, you know, you just want to smash. You just want to smash niggas when they hit you with negativity. To be perfectly fucking honest. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I was responding to that. And I was like, look, man, like, I don't think I'm better than anybody. Like, I have a path. I walk my path. I do what the fuck I need to do. And occasionally, I get rewarded for it. And when I get rewarded for it, occasionally I like to talk about it. But the problem isn't me. The problem is you. Like, I don't feel like I'm better than you. You feel like I'm better than you. And because you feel like I'm better than you for whatever reason, that's why you're directing this energy to me that the way you are. And I understand that. I can accept that. But at some point, you're going to have to deal with the fact that I'm better than you because you think I'm better than you. Not because I said it, but because you think it. And you're going to have to deal with that shit. They ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not my problem. So, you know, it's one of those things.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not, that's still cool. I mean, if you want to die with the hate in your heart, like, I'll send flowers to your funeral, my nigga. It's cool. I ain't got no problem with that.
What?
I mean, like, I'm not even like, and I'm not trying to be an asshole when I say this, but like the point that I am in my life, like I have never been more comfortable with like who I am as a person. Like, and that's not to say that I'm a perfect person. I have a lot of flaws, but I'm comfortable with my flaws. I'm working on the things right. I'm comfortable working on the things that I think I need to work on, and some things that I don't need to work on, I'm just never going to work on, and I'm comfortable with that too. Like I go to therapy, me and my therapist, we hash that shit out every week. You know what I'm saying? Like I've never been in a better mental space at any point in my adulthood than I am right now. So like,
and that's dope in itself,
right? And but
we say that on Twitter.
Yeah.
We're flex. We should do
Weird flex, but okay.
do an experiment.
Right, weird flex, but okay. And I mean, I think that's where those disclaimers come from, where you're always trying to like lessen the blow of how somebody else is gonna. I'm not saying I'm perfect. You know, we have those built-in sort of like disclaimers to keep.
So people don't feel some kind of way about themselves.
Right. So people don't feel some kind of way about you saying some shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, I've never been more comfortable with who I am in my life. And that's not, like I said, that's not to say that I'm not still working on stuff, but I've never been more comfortable with who I am in my life. So people can't say anything to me about anything and make me feel anything. Right. Like there's no tweet, there's no comment, there's no thread, there's no person that somebody can come up to me or tweet me or it's be like, well, nigga, you used to be like this, and you used to be like that, and you still do this. I don't give a fuck about
okay.
that. It doesn't matter. Like if that's what you're upset about, then that's cool. But you got to move. You got to go away. You got to take that shit somewhere else, dog. Because we're not doing that shit over here. The number of positivity over here, my nigga. We not that negative shit that you got going on. I'm not fucking with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't make me feel no way about me. So
wow, what if everybody felt like that?
We'd be a lot better off as a people. But haters gonna hate.
There wouldn't be as much hate going around.
It'd still be some hate because I'm still a hater. I don't want you to feel like I'm not a hater. I do hate some shit.
No, I mean the type of hate that we were just finished talking about, like the need to say something to people, when you can just be quiet.
Where does that security come from? How do you build your security to see all of this noise online and still be able to be like, I know myself, this is, I'm not affected by all of this noise that I see?
Because I'm an adult and
how do you develop that?
I mean, it take work. You know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff that
I guess I'm just asking too, like not even just.
No, I mean,
I can answer people to hear and be like.
Yeah, I can answer. I think for me, therapy is a big reason for that. Like going to therapy and like I always say that before I started going to therapy, the first thing that I said to myself was if I ever go to therapy would be one place that I never tell a lie about myself. Right. So in therapy, I bear the ugly, I bear the warts. I tell, when some shit don't even sound right, when some shit don't even look right, when I'm doing something that I know is clearly wrong, I tell all of that in therapy. And then my therapist will tell me that, I'm out here fucking up, or she'll tell me what you're doing is normal and this is okay. And this is just a normal part of whatever it is that you're going through. Right. So I think I get a lot of good reassurance of who I am as a person in therapy. So I think that is the foundation for how I'm able to sort of like build on top of that. And I have been a person who hasn't cared what other people thought for a really long time. That doesn't mean that things that other people say haven't bothered me before, or it doesn't mean that people haven't said things that made me like sort of like self-assess, like what is it that I'm really doing out here? That's not to say that none of those things have happened. Just to say who I am as a person and what my personality isn't going to be dictated by strangers. It hasn't been like that since I was a child. So it's not going to happen now, and it's not going to happen via social media, right? So already kind of walking in with my personality can't be dictated by other people, and then going to therapy and telling the most honest truths about myself that I don't even tell, that I occasionally hide from myself. Right. Mm-hmm. Things I don't like talking, things I don't like thinking about to myself that I tell my therapist, because that is the one space that I should be able to tell those things. And having her talk to me and being like, like this is okay, this is not, maybe you might want to work on this, like whatever advice that she's giving, whatever suggestions that she's giving, or in like reinforcing some of the things that I've already thought that maybe I wasn't so sure about. You know what I'm saying? I'm not so sure about how I was handling this thing, but when I talked to my therapist about it and I talked about the context of why I was doing those things, she was like, no, you're doing it right. Oh, well, damn, that's a load off my shoulders. You know what I'm saying? So a combination, and I'm not trying to sound like everybody need to go to therapy, although I think everybody should go to therapy. I'm not trying to be that nigga. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying like that's where the center of, I mean, some people use Jesus. That's the center of their strength. Therapy is the center of my strength. That's how I'm able to go out in the world and like be self-assured in who I am and what I'm doing.
Because really, when you say that, it's almost like you're saying truth and like being open with yourself. Like you said, like sometimes I feel like we lie to ourselves. Like,
no, we do. We do that a lot.
We lie to ourselves, and then we try to live a life that justifies a lie we're telling ourselves, and then you get all disheveled, and then that's why you hating online.
Right. And I mean, I feel like all of this is like a transformation that started from like when I decided that I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore, because I knew I didn't want to be a lawyer after my first year of law school, but I was already there. And it was a lifelong dream. And I was like, I'm just going to graduate and just kind of figure it out from there. And like, once I had the balls to sort of turn my life upside down at 27 and say, I'm going to pursue a completely different career path that I think is more beneficial to who I am as a person in my skill set. That's kind of like the first building block that went down. You know what I'm saying? Like once you fail at something, like this is really, it really ain't nowhere to go from there. You know what I'm saying? Like I failed at a lot of shit and I was just like, okay, well, it's cool. Like I'm still here, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of what the tweet thread was about. It's like, yo, right. I feel like a lot of shit, nigga. I'm 33 and this is my first time doing this, and I lost this job and I lost that job, and I was working here. I was getting paid pennies, and you know, I was in a, you know, like all this different stuff or whatever. And it's like, yo, but I'm still here, and it's cool. You know what I mean? Like I had some really shitty times, but I'm still standing, I'm still here. Antoine Fisher, swag. You know what I mean? Still standing, still strong. You know what I mean? So I think that's where it comes from. Like I think it comes from like just intense therapy and being able to tell the truth to myself about myself in a space where it's okay for me to do that, and then like already sort of coming into it feeling like whatever it is that I don't like about myself, or whatever it is that people say, because like people don't tell me things that I don't like about myself, or people don't say things that I'm affected by unless I had already thought that thing beforehand. Right? Like you're not going, like people can't bring me new information about me. That ain't how that works. But if you say something that I was already like kind of on the fence about, that's when it hurts. And then that's what I need to, I'm not attacking you. Now it's time for a self-assessment. Why does that thing bother me so much? What is it that person said that I've already been thinking about that I feel like I need to correct? Because if other people can see it, then now this is clearly a fucking problem that I need to fix. All right. That's it. That's all I got. Anything y'all want to talk about?
Being thankful.
Oh yeah, man. Oh, and all of that
for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, man. Happy Thanksgiving. Niggas was thankful, you know, to still be here, still be kicking, still be doing this podcast, even though, you know, shit's hard. Shit. I dropped in for a little bit last week. I was in the middle of doing a fucking research project, but you know, I love y'all. So
yeah, I'm also thankful. Like I think a lot of times we think our life is like super hard and like we're going through all these things, but you like certain things can happen and you're reminded that life can always get worse, and you should be thankful for like the things that you do have. Like I heard the news about, what was it? I think was it yesterday, the day before yesterday, when Kim Porter died?
Yeah, man, that's like, crazy, right?
Like she's literally 10 years older than me, right? And
she died of pneumonia.
I think she had like the pneumonia or the flu or something, and she had complications from that. And I'm like,
the flu taking niggas out, dog. That's crazy.
Like, dog, I've had the flu, and like I think like certain things like good health and like just food to eat, like we take for granted until like we aren't healthy. Because I've had friends, you know, I have had friends, parents of friends who've succumbed to like diseases or ailments that are like, oh, like pneumonia. I'm pretty sure if I got pneumonia now or caught the flu, I'm confident that my immune system could handle that and fight off whatever it is. But everyone is not so fortunate. So I think, you know, we take health and just living for granted. So I'm trying to be more thankful for that.
You saying what we're thankful for?
No, I think that's kind of just what we was talking about. But I actually wanted to talk about, I mean, you can say something if you want to talk about something to be thankful about, because I know how I want to end the podcast in terms of thankfulness.
Oh, well, go ahead, because mine is just the regular stuff, I think.
That's fine. You can share it, nigga. It's your podcast, too. You share whatever you want.
I don't know. I'm just thankful for opportunities and thankful for a resourceful mind. That's what I'm thankful for being able to like figure things out.
That's good. A resourceful mind. Thanking for a resourceful mind. That's really good. So I wanted to share this little thing that I saw on Twitter, and it's about being thankful. And the Reddit it's about a Reddit thread. It's about people who are no longer deaf. What's something that you thought would have a certain noise, but was surprised that it didn't? I laughed a good 2 hours reading this thread, because all these people couldn't hear anything before. So they had to make up in their mind what they thought that thing sounded like, because obviously they can't hear. And then they heard it for the first time afterward. So one person was talking about how the first time they heard the toilet flush, it scared the shit out of them. Completely fucking hilarious, right? One person said that they thought that the sun They like they were like they thought that when the sun went down, it hits the trees. So they were really surprised that there was no sound when the sun goes down.
I didn't,
right?
Yeah.
Somebody said that like traffic signals were like like hearing traffic was like a really big thing for them or whatever. So I'm laughing. And I thought to myself, like, wow, these are things that I take for granted every single day. Like being able to hear stuff. Like the toilet flushing I don't even know what I don't think about a toilet flushing when I flush it, right? I don't think about what it sounds like or what it would be like to hear that for the very first time, right? And I'm like, wow, man, like it's always the littlest things that you never think about in like a million years that you'd ever have to go without that you actually should be thankful for. So I'm really thankful for like all the little things. Like I'm thankful that I'm an able-bodied person, that I don't need help getting in and getting out of a car, that I don't have to worry about walking up and down stairs, that I don't need special wheelchair assistance. And I'm not being an ableist. I'm just saying that these are little things that I never think about being thankful for, that I should be. I realize that when people say like health is wealth, and thank God for your health. Like when I was younger, I was like, well, that doesn't fucking mean anything. What do you mean thank God for your health? Like the fuck is that even? Dog. Being sick is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive. And it costs.
The way the country's set up, where they can insurance companies will drop you for anything.
Being sick costs you in ways that you don't even. And I mean, like chronically sick. It costs you in ways in so many different facets of your life that you don't have any fucking idea. So I just want to be thankful for the little things, like being able to do this podcast with y'all, because I mean, life is fucked up. We could wake up tomorrow and one of y'all niggas wouldn't be here no more. I wouldn't be here no more. We couldn't do this podcast the way that we're doing it now. So I'm thankful for y'all.
Ditto, buddy.
All right. That is NWAP Season 5, Episode 12. We'll catch y'all niggas next week.
Peace.
Peace.